What has your journey been? When were you diagnosed? At, was it younger, older, and just go from there? This is your story, how you want to tell it.
Right. I am still within a year of diagnosis.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And it's as I'm sure everyone realizes by now. They say, "Oh wow, you got diagnosed within the year. How does it feel, to deal with ADHD, so recently?" I'm like, it hasn't been recent. it's been since I popped out, man. That's been from day one. And I when I was a kid, I had a tick. I still have a tick disorder. If anyone's watching this Zoom, they'll probably be like, "Why is that guy winking at me so much?" But I had a tick disorder. Oh, that's good. That's good. That means things are improving.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe if I'm just conscious of where I am, because it doesn't really happen on like videos and stuff. I'm very conscious about, keeping a straight face in videos.
Right.
But that's what I got diagnosed with as a child around, I don't know, 4 or 5. And it was much more deliberate then. I was doing crazy stuff. I had a tick where I wanted to somersault everywhere. And, that was just what happened. Dave would go somersaulting for, half an hour.
Right.
And I had ticks where I would shake my whole body. And I had all kinds of crazy things related to my tick disorder. And I got diagnosed for that at a very early age. And there are a lot of things about ADHD and tick disorders that go hand in hand.
I did not know that.
A lot of
I did not know that.
And you'll find that a lot of children that have ADHD have tick disorders. Most of them just grow out of it. That's why, when you see an adult with a tick disorder, it's kind of peculiar because children, you may notice children kind of blink aggressively at you sometimes. And that's usually a characteristic of a tick disorder. So a lot of kids with ADHD have tick disorders. There's a lot of comorbidities there, but that wasn't really discussed a whole lot. And my tics were so obvious that anytime that I did something peculiar, it was like, okay, well, it's probably just one of his tics, and that's what everything got chalked up to.
That's it. That's fascinating. I have not. I mean, I've talked to probably 40 people. I have not heard that yet at all.
Yeah. And it's because I always wondered when I had found out later as an adult that I had ADHD, I'm like, why? I feel like that should have been more obvious. I had a tick disorder, but they're two separate things. So why was that not noticed, earlier on? And after doing some digging, it turns out there's a lot of connections there. So it at least helps me understand maybe why it went on for so long. But my mom is fantastic, but she was always under the her philosophy was that if it wasn't debilitating anything, if she could tell that I was still living normally, she wasn't going to mess with it. You know what I mean? We only talked about my tics if I wanted to. Then she would talk about them. She didn't bring them up. She didn't try to treat them or cure them. And generally speaking, again, that was just her philosophy. Was he's fine, he's happy. I'm not going to interfere with that.
Right.
And I know there's a lot of talk about toxic parents that said, I don't want my kid to know that they have ADHD or this or that because I don't want them to feel abnormal. It wasn't like that. Right. It was just, there was nothing noticeable enough to seek anything. I was also homeschooled. I was homeschooled from kindergarten until 6th grade. So a lot of people say, well, why did you get undiagnosed for so long? Were your parents mean? Well, no. But one of the main things that people have to their advantage to notice their ADHD is that they are in a public school system with people that are not as intrigued by the kids.
Right.
Having to split attention 20 different ways.
Yeah.
It was me and my mom. That's it. I was the only one getting attention in an educational setting. So I had a lot of things going for me to kind of avoid detrimental effects early on in childhood.
Right. Well, that's fascinating. You're also the first person that was homeschooled that I've spoken with. I never thought about that because people probably wouldn't recognize it one-on-one if it's just you and your mom and if you're happy like you just described. But if you're in a classroom environment, then all of a sudden it should be easier to recognize. I've never thought about it like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got so many things working against you, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Good Lord, that's incredible. So at sixth grade, after sixth grade, did you go into a classroom setting, for middle school and whatnot after that?
I did. And obviously, the younger you are, the more, I don't want to say controlled, just monitored by your parents you are. You know, there's
Right.
still less independence there. So I had a lot of old habits. I was a very smart kid, not as socialized as everyone else, but I wasn't a weirdo. I was just, I had high waters, and I wanted to make sure that I got all my work done all the time, because that's
Right.
just what I've been conditioned to think. And everyone's like, okay, he's kind of a nerd, but whatever. So a lot of those old habits of just trying to be productive and trying to hold myself accountable just kind of stuck with me for a few years. But again, it's the longer you're away from that one-on-one, every day as a tutor scenario kind of lifestyle,
Right.
the more likely it is that you start to stray. And that's what happened. Um, Never really had behavioral issues, because I was like, well, if he has ADHD, he probably got in trouble all the time. Well, no, because I was terrified of people being upset with me.
Right.
I just, and I don't know what caused that. That's just my life. I just always want people to like me. It's not that I want people to like me. I don't want people to dislike me. So I was
Yeah.
always, following a straight line for the most part.
And that's the
And
ADHD thing too, is like
oh yeah,
we hate not being liked. We want to be accepted all of the time,
yeah,
which is why I think it's hilarious that so many of us are on TikTok, because then you look at all of these negative comments that come through from your videos, and you're like, why am I doing this again?
yeah.
but it's fun. I mean, it's obviously a dopamine thing, but I am already so fascinated by this, because you've made two unbelievable points. And the first one is being the tics and ADHD. I had no idea that was a thing. Second is the homeschool. That can be vital for people that are listening to this out there that are homeschooled. That's a great point. That has not been talked about. So I'm sorry for interrupting, but it is
No, you're
ADHD.
fine.
So next,
Yeah,
so not a
and I would
troublemaker.
encourage any parents or anyone that's in their youth that's going into school out of homeschool, or any parents that are transitioning. It's very specific, but any parents that have ADHD kids going from homeschool into public school, there are transitional things there that are not just, well, I hope he makes friends.
Right.
You're pulling them out of an environment in which motivation was based off of family. Concentration was based off of family. You don't have to worry about being depressed with a monotonous lifestyle, because you're in your house. You could, for the
Right.
most, I don't know how other homeschool kids had it, but if mom noticed that I was, not paying attention very well, she's like, mom would take a fiver, and that
Right.
was it.
Yeah.
You don't get that in public school,
No.
Yeah,
You don't get that
you
in
get yelled
any
at.
school. Any school,
Yeah,
I can imagine. I mean,
yeah,
any class with more than one person, they're not going to just adapt
right.
to. That is a fascinating way of looking at it. So socially, were you, once you got into real, or not real, sorry, once you got into school that was not homeschool, were you, accepted by peers? Did you work hard to be accepted, or was it more just, uh, you know,
I
did you have a group of friends basically? Then?
I did. I wasn't the top 10 most popular kids in school kind of guy. But
Right.
generally speaking, everybody liked me.
That's awesome.
I was friends with anybody, which I think is why some people didn't like me, is because conflict of interest there, right?
Well, yeah, and it's
Um,
jealousy also, is the fact that you're able to open up to these people that they might not like or resonate with, which I think is
yeah,
a benefit to
it is.
ADHD.
It weeds a lot of people out,
It
because if
does.
if you're if you're friend with somebody that someone might consider a weirdo, and
Right.
that immediately shuts down that potential for you and that person. Well, okay, thank you for doing the hard work for me, now I know. Like, oh, you're one of those, okay.
I love it. I love it. So
So
accepted.
I didn't think it was hard work at the time. I thought it was me having fun, but I think I kind of gamified social interaction, because I hadn't had a lot of it. So you want to talk about being engaged in something that's challenging. Trying to make friends when you have lived in your house for 11 years.
Yeah, that's
You
kind
know?
of, I mean, that would be, I honestly, I cannot fathom doing something like that. I mean, that just being plopped right into the thing. You've been in a fishbowl, and then all of a sudden they just took you and put you out in the ocean.
Yeah.
Like what?
It was different. It was very different.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that you just catch on to very quickly. It's a weird perspective because you come in and I'm smart enough at that age to notice things that are acceptable and not acceptable.
Right.
I'd never been in a public school in my life. So you're very quickly making mental notes about what's cool and what's not cool, what's okay and what's not okay. And I did. I had a lot of friends. I was in band, so I had a lot of music friends.
Right.
And again, at the time it didn't seem like hard work probably, but looking back, I think it was a hustle. Something that I found challenging and wanted to do well. I wanted to win at being likable.
So you think that it was you literally in the back of your mind saying, I have to play this game to be accepted, instead of just, I should be accepted because I'm Dave and I'm awesome.
Right. And I don't even know if I knew what that was. I don't even know if I knew who Dave was at that point. There was, it's like it can't be masking if you're hiding who you are to be somebody else, if there's nothing to hide. You know what I mean? There was so much unlocked areas of my life that I now had choices to make. What kind of a person did I want to be? Who did I want to be friends with? What kind of vernacular did I want to use? It's just things you grow into, in elementary school, that I didn't have the opportunity to do. But it was, for the most part, again, I think it was a hustle, but eventually that just became the normal. You know what I mean? By 7th, 8th grade, that was just the normal for me. And I had my regular friends. High school was fun. My middle school, my high school, I've had a very vanilla life. You know what I mean? Up until that point, in my teenage years and stuff, it's all been correct so far. You know what I mean?
All been correct.
Yeah, like I'm checking all the right boxes for middle school and high school.
I got you. I was the polar opposite of what you're saying. I was not correct for a long time. But looking back on it, I kind of have a different view. Is that like the reason that I was not quote correct is because I did really poorly in school, and I didn't care about making a lot of friends, but I did. It was just this thing where I wasn't gamifying it. I just had so much confidence in myself because of what my parents had told me growing up about, and I was diagnosed extremely young, like maybe 5 years old. And essentially my mom said, this is going to be a struggle for you your whole life, but here's what's awesome about it. And let me tell you why. And she studied it and researched it and all that kind of stuff. And that gave me the confidence to literally be myself in every scenario and broadcast. Hey, I have ADHD. If you don't believe in it, I don't give a fuck. If you have a good heart, I still love you. Like,
right.
So I was very popular in high school and the part of college that I attended before not finishing.
You and the rest of us, man.
Right, exactly. And but it did give me the ability to follow my dreams because I had my mom on my side. Like I had her in my corner saying,
"What a great start!" Yeah,
I mean that is my privilege. That is my benefit. Is I got that from day one. And it was, yes, they'd get upset about how bad my grades were and all this, but my mom did say always, you are going to be athletic. Everyone is going, to love you. And you're just going to struggle with things that everybody else, that's so easy for everybody else. That's what this is. She said, but in the grand scheme of life, what you're really going to ultimately be good at is people. So don't worry about it.
Yeah. And we are
right, aren't we? Like, I mean, and that's why I go back to you were saying that you were playing a game essentially to have people like you when you didn't have to think about it like that. You just show up and be Dave and people love you.
Yeah. What you realize over time, like, that example we use, there's a lot of people that you're like, oh, I don't think I want you to like me. You know? And you're like, this makes my job a whole lot easier.
That's hilarious. Yeah, there's some people I don't want them to like me. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So did you try college after high school? Like, did you go that route, or was it?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was in band all through high school, and I was good at it. I was really good at it. I played trombone, and I got a scholarship to our university, and that's what I wanted. By the time I hit my senior year, 1 out of my 8 classes for the entire year was not music related. So I was basically doing like, you know, a
Gotcha.
college program for music, you know, how it would be in college,
Right.
but in my senior year. And by the time that college rolled around, I was like, perfect. I'm going to go and make music my life. And I went to college, and they said, okay, here's all the core classes you have to. I'm like, what?
Oh, Jesus.
We have to do it all again?
Huh.
You know, I have to take, you know, 16 more things that, you know, why I pay you the money? Why am I having to take this nonsense?
Isn't that the bullshit? Like, why is like core classes for someone with ADHD? You might as well just fail them automatically. You might as well just say, you know what? If you have to pass these things, then don't even go to college, because core classes, if we're not interested in them, who gives a fuck?
I think by the time that the end of the year was over, my freshman year, I only made it halfway through my second semester my freshman year. And I think by the time that was over, I had like something stupid, like a 7 in English. Like I just was not going to anything except my music.
Why would you do anything but music when that's what you love?
It was mind-boggling to me. I half wanted to go to college for the music thing, but the other half was like, I don't, you know, this all seems like a big ripoff with money. And you pay a lot of money to have people tell you that there are certain things that you have to do. And that I was like, you know what? This shit's dumb. I'm done. And I just packed it up and left. And you know, there was a lot of fear in that because, again, my whole life I kind of towed this line about I don't want to get into trouble. I want to make sure that I am successful to some degree, you know. And as every year progressed and every year I got older, there was a tiny bit of my life that was less organized than it used to be.
Okay.
You know, things were adding in. I wasn't homeschooled anymore with 0 responsibilities. All the things that other people with ADHD had to bog them down, I was getting piecemeal over the years. And if I was finally reaching a point where it was becoming a big issue, and I actually became an addict. I was an alcoholic for several years. I say alcoholic, but I was anything I could get my hands on, really. I didn't care.
Right.
And I ended up going to AA, and I'm 2 years sober now.
Oh, congratulations. Hell
thank
yeah.
you.
Nice work.
Feels great.
That's got to be
Feels
like
great.
one of the hardest things. I mean, that's way more important than graduating any fucking college. Okay.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not happy with all the stuff that I did, but I will tell you that I'm a better person having been an alcoholic and then gone to AA and recovered than I would have been had I just not been an alcoholic at all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because you got through something that is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was hard. There's a lot. You're naked there. You know, you don't have any socialization, and nobody's there to hear you. You know what I mean? They're not there so you can like make them like you, or you can win AA. So the only person you're trying to fool is yourself. And how long do you plan to do that until you realize that no one else cares? They just want you to recover. So, you know, it was nice to be able to strip away all of that bullshit that I had built up for so long. And there was a lot of things there. You know, looking back now, I'm finally drawing the red yarn between all these things, you know, like the ADHD and addiction. There was so much there. They call them character flaws in AA. Things about you that you developed that detract. So like jealousy, I guess, would be one. You know, if you're a very jealous person, character, you know, defects that they want to help you learn to correct, right? So there were a lot of behaviors like from my ADHD and my addiction that were represented as one thing.
Right.
And looking back, it's very obvious.
and that's got to be very difficult to kind of say, okay, when you were in AA, they're trying to teach you, you know, your character flaws, and then ADHD comes along and it's character flaws. So like, what is it? Is it the alcoholic, or is it the ADHD, or did the ADHD cause the you know? So that's got to be confusing for you as well.
There's been a lot of philosophical nights in bed trying, debating how this all works, because again, they want to make sure that because alcoholics are very good at making up excuses for things,
right,
and rationalizing irrational things.
Exactly.
So it's they say, don't try to blame this on other stuff. This is something you need to take responsibility for. And then on the ADHD side of things, we're like, hey, you don't have to blame yourself anymore.
Right.
There are things that you can understand. Let's hold ourselves accountable, but not put ourselves in the dirt here.
Right.
So it's a balancing act for me, because I do think while there are a lot of similarities there, and they do walk a similar path sometimes, there are a lot of things that are just me as an alcoholic that I've worked to absolve and not have a part of my life anymore. And there are things about my ADHD that I'm still learning and trying to differentiate from the rest of my life. Because as usual, like the rest of my life, I'm catching up. I'm years behind what everyone else has already gone through. I'm diagnosed now at 29 at the time. I'm 30 now.
Okay.
It's a lot of learning.
I'm about to be 40. Good God. But yes, it is. It is a lot of learning. I will say, though, that it seems that you went through an extremely difficult time with the alcoholism, but you made it through AA. You're 2 years sober. You have ADHD. You obviously run an extremely successful business. You're doing well on social media. I know you said the other night on the live that it was a social, that you work in social media and whatnot, which is, I mean, I have a feeling that ADHD may have played into the reason why you are where you are now.
It's the only reason. It is the only reason.
Boom.
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 Anecdotally, as a lifestyle, yes. But even more specifically, I made a video series called Weird Shit That I Do that apparently everybody else does too. And, the first one, they're like, oh, that's cute. What a quirky guy. And then by like the fourth or fifth video, they were like, hey, Dave. And I think you might have ADHD and anxiety. I'm like, no, I'm just a weirdo. That's all. It's fine. They said, you should really get that checked out. And at the same time, around this time frame, I was having a lot of issues at home, a lot of issues. And people telling me like, look, we're trying, not even be patient. We're just trying to understand, but we are not connecting the dots here.
Right.
Either, you don't care, or you just have like missing neurons. And I can't imagine that it's the second one or the first one. So what's going on?
Right.
And I said, fine, I'll go ask. I'll go ask the nice lady.
That's hilarious. I'll at least ask
everyone
the question.
can get off my back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she told me, we went through a lot of questionnaires and a lot of tests, and I had to talk with nurse practitioners who wanted to analyze my history with substance abuse and what I was going to do with this and how it's, and all that said and done, they said, yeah, you got ADHD, man. And I was like, oh, okay, so what now? And they're like, whatever you want to be now. And I never, again, when someone asks, well, what now that you have a diagnosis, I don't know. I guess go learn, read a book. Shit, I don't know.
Yeah, my thing is, I feel like the stigma of it is the reason that a lot of people are held so down by it, is because all of a sudden they're told that they have it, so they become cautious in the way that they approach being around people and doing this. And people are telling you got this quirk and this quirk, when the bottom line is, you've made it through a shit ton of crap in your life, gotten to a certain point because of it, and now you're diagnosed, and now it's like, oh shit.
Lobau Spark is proudly supported by Leo Guinan, Kirk Hofstrom, Casey Elliott, Sarah Delano, Justin Allingham, Blushing Crafter, Jamie Young, and Beth Jones. It is now also supported by 14 anonymous supporters. And I understand that completely. I know I can swear and all that kind of shit. If you want to support it and be anonymous, I get it. I get it. Whether you want to be mentioned by name or remain anonymous, this podcast does not exist without all of you. And I love you.
Where's the oh shit?
I knew it.
Right, exactly. But where it shouldn't be oh shit, it should be, and I hate the word should, but like it explains a lot, but it doesn't mean you have to change who you are.
Yeah. Austin Archer says it's like when you buy a car. You never notice the car on the road until you buy it. And now all of a sudden you see 4 or 5 of that car every day that you drive. When in reality, it wasn't any more or less prevalent than it was before. You just have the foresight to see it now.
Exactly. That's like I thought it was a Jeep thing when I got my first Wrangler, and I thought I was all cool.
Like, you opened your third eye.
So, yeah.
I see him now. The Matrix code is running down the screen.
Hilarious. I love it. So in terms of what you've built, up to this point, you're just diagnosed within the past year. You've obviously done exceptionally well success-wise up until like even prior to being diagnosed. How does being diagnosed now change your personality, if at all?
I think it was something that I learned in AA that I had appreciated, and now it's just reinforced in a different part of my life, which is it's this accountability. I was always having a hard time trying to decide if I should blame only myself or blame everybody else.
Right.
There was no in between, right? There was no in between for me. So accountability, in my opinion, is not just saying this is all my fault. Accountability is just recognizing the reality of where the failures are and saying, I'm going to fix what I can fix. And that's the best that I can do.
Exactly.
And ADHD really reaffirms that feeling,
Yeah. And I think ADHD thrives on what's difficult. Which to me, is there a better characteristic to have than functioning when it's extremely important?
Right. It's my favorite. That's why we manifest it,
Right, exactly. It's great. The video you did about talking about on the TikTok video you did talking about like, is it really that big of a deal? I can't quote it exactly, but like, is what you're not great at really a big deal, or are your good parts better? And I had done a similar video to that where I listed things on a tombstone, and it's like, you're never going to see the stuff that we suck at. They're not going to say these things in a eulogy. Like, what they're going to say is they were a friend to all, they were passionate, they put others before themselves. Like, what?
Yeah. No one is going to say, well, finally he's gone. I remember how late he was all the time.
Right. Exactly. That's the whole thing. And 90% of the time that person was late because, well, there's 2 reasons. 1, they couldn't find their keys, but 2, they were helping somebody else that had a problem. Right. And that is my whole principle with doing this is, I think, because I did have a friend who, my wife's best friend or whatever, who died because of mental health. And you know what that means. And she was extremely ADHD. And I promised her that I was always going to try and help, because she at least told me, Lobal, for 10 minutes when I talk to you, I feel like myself. I feel like I can actually have confidence in myself. And that's, so I just don't want people to change who they actually are when they're told they have ADHD, if they've made it so far doing so well.
Yeah.
With it, try the medications, and that's the hardest part, is the journey with, does the medication work? Does it not? Do I like to meditate? Do I not? All that is a grind and God only knows the pharmacy. I had an issue with the pharmacy today. That's going to be another 3 months before I can even, but so all of those things are the grind. But ADHD people are so good at the grind when it fucking matters. Like you with AA, your alcoholism, that matters a shit ton. And you're
Right.
2 years sober. You beat it.
Very easy to focus on when it's that high on the priority list, you know.
That's right, because that's a life-threatening thing. I mean, it can be a life or death thing, and you addressed it immediately and got it done when you knew there was a problem. That's what ADHD does. Is it goes to the most immediate important thing.
Right. And it was an actual problem.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's the biggest problem. It's like, well, I have ADHD, so let's find out what it's doing. I'm like, I had a problem before I found out. That's why I wanted to know. And then after they said, you have ADHD, I'm like, these are the problems I currently have. I want to see if they're associated or not. Because if they're not, then I have a much bigger problem. I have to figure out what's wrong with me. And they said, those are all very characteristic signs of ADHD. I'm like, cool. What are the solutions to those problems? Typically, you know what I mean? I didn't say, all right, we have to find out what could be going wrong that I'm just not seeing. Like, why are you trying to do that? Don't do that.
Right.
If it's a big enough problem, you'll notice it. If it's not, then ignore it.
Exactly. And that is, God, I could not have said that better. No one could say that better than you just said it. It's like, who gives a fuck about the small shit?
No. There's enough big shit. Eventually there will be. So.
Right, because life is one big, huge shit after the next, after the next, after the next. ADHD jumps from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next.
Right.
Focus on, and the hardest part is we get distracted for 5 seconds, and then that huge thing may, we get frustrated, and then we go into this paralysis. If you just didn't care about that thing, that small thing that everyone else can do that you can't, that's easy for everybody else. It's easy for everybody else to, find things. It's easy for everybody else to be on time. It's easy, but that's just only distracting you away from like what ultimately matters in life. And those same people where it's easy for them to do certain things are going to come to you when they have a problem. I mean, how many people confide in you? I bet a lot.
I got person to best tell a secret to in middle school.
There you go. There you go.
I didn't get most attractive, but I got best secret keeper.
You know what I got? I got thinks he's in college and biggest cradle robber. I was like, yeah, I can't really say that nowadays, but that's hilarious. So now, are you married? Kids?
I am.
Good for you. So am I.
I'm married with 2 kids.
I am married with no kids.
I am. Before ADHD, the only content I made, apart from the Rogue video, was parenting content. That's the only thing I made. And I make both now. But there are people that follow me for ADHD stuff that they're like, yeah, he's an ADHD creator. And then they'll see a parenting video and they're like, wait, you have kids? I'm like, yeah, it's why half of you are even here in the first place. But it's just so funny.
Yeah.
Don't set too many expectations,
Right.
Yeah, because if they don't work out, you're assuming that it's wrong. Right. When in reality, it's just different. This whole ADHD thing was not on my radar 3 years ago. And then it just suddenly was. Right. And I started making the content. Doing social media for a living was not on my radar 3 years ago. And then White Flag, the company I work with now, said, hey, we really like your stuff. How about you make content for us? They do amazing work. I mean, they have it's peer-to-peer support. They're literally connecting people that are experiencing issues with their mental health together so they can have a conversation.
That's awesome.
And now I feel like I'm doing something. There's something there. You know what I mean? And that wasn't an expectation. That wasn't a plan.
It's purpose.
I don't think it's ridiculous to have goals, but everyone is, And it's the whole it's the towing the line in high school thing. It's that you have to go to college thing.
Yep.
It's the make sure when you get out you have a good job thing. There's always a thing in front of you all the time. And God forbid you don't have something in front of you that you're supposed to be chasing after. What's the whole point of this anyway? Why can't you just chill for a little bit? Why can't that be a thing that you do? You know?
No, you can't do that. You can't reflect. You can't learn anything by just relaxing, except for that's how I learn best, is alone by myself, reflecting on things. That's how I learn. That's life. You know, but
apparently life is hustle, and I didn't know. You know what I mean?
I forgot.
I just don't understand. What if I gave you $15 million? What do you do? Well, I retire. Retire to do what? Chill out. You can chill out right now for free.
Right.
You don't need $15 million.
That's like
Go play a video game.
The Office Space. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been married for?
I have known my wife for 7 years. We've been married for 4, 5.
Okay.
Shit. Redact this from the podcast. You heard nothing.
Here, I'll equal it out so that we're both in trouble. I've been married 5 years.
Yeah, see, great.
No,
great. I'm so glad that I asked you that
or
question.
Is it 6? Okay, so it's 5 or 6. So, but we're not going to be good, with that kind of thing. But I bet we give the best anniversary gifts when we remember when the anniversary is.
Oh, yeah. Somebody saw my wedding ring and they're like, oh, that's so cute. You had the date engraved on the inside. And I was like, bet your ass I had the date engraved on the inside.
So you modified the ring. Yeah, I went through modifications too. And that's the thing. I really, really hope that people understand that, ADHD can be the most crippling, like one of the most crippling disorders there is out there, because it is a disorder. It is a disorder. That is, we know that now. But it can also be a massive advantage to cut through life's everyday bullshit. But the difference is the people that use ADHD for the positive are genuinely confident in themselves, and the people that don't can't, because the world is telling them they suck.
Right.
That's why I started talking on TikTok, I guess, is because I was really tired of seeing that people down all the time, crying on every video. Why it's like
it's correct, but is that it? Is that
that's
it though?
That's my whole thing. You're right. It is correct, and it is depressing, and it is a serious issue. But everyone on this planet, especially those with ADHD, have something amazing to give to this world. And I feel like not a lot of people, if someone's sitting at home and they're watching TikTok, wondering whether or not to get diagnosed, and they see a video of this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, they're going to stay on the couch. They see a video of you might be able to do this, 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 they might get off the couch and go get diagnosed.
Right.
And so that's, do you agree with that approach? Like, everyone's style is different. I'm not ignoring the bad parts. God only knows, the struggle is so real, but I don't feel like telling people that they suck. I want to tell people that they're awesome.
Right. And it's a hard middle for me to walk. Creating content. I have to make funny content. I do make serious content sometimes when I'm in the mood.
Right.
But generally, I'm making skits and funny content. You may disagree, but for me, you cannot make funny content about positive outlooks. You know what I mean? That's not typically how comedy in this department works.
Right.
I've tried it. It doesn't work.
Really? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, your videos are so well done is the thing. But no, I agree with that. It is hard to make the positive side funny.
And that's what I want to do. I think women have a huge battle with ADHD right now, with trying to be, validated and seen.
Absolutely.
And to the point that we are right now. I don't think it's fair in the slightest. I think
not,
it's
because
way
it isn't.
worse than we have it.
Oh, it is.
But
it absolutely is.
The major detractor for being a guy with ADHD is that we already have stigmas associated with being stupid, and all of that stupidity causes the negative side effects that ADHD already gives us anyway.
Right.
My kids were watching it was like a musical sing-along, and it was like two baby pandas, and the daddy panda was in charge of the two baby pandas, and he was having to like perform basic household tasks, and like he would like wash the whites with reds and like put like orange juice in a cup instead of milk, and the song was basically like, it's okay, we know you're dumb, we'll just wait for mommy to get home, and I'm like, this is the problem that I have, because I forget shit all the time, because I don't remember dates, as it doesn't matter how important they are.
Right.
You know, it's all the things that are stereotyped by, you know, people for being husbands and fathers and boyfriends, and all the things that men typically are already associated with the symptoms and characteristics of ADHD. So that is why I'm doing the content I'm doing, because that's how I felt. I felt like I am the characterization that people make fun of when it comes to being a dad and a husband. And I don't want to feel that way. I'm not trying to be ignorant on purpose.
Right.
So when the information came to me, it was such an emotional release to realize there was reasoning. I didn't want to know it so that way I could ignore it. I wanted to know it so I could fix it.
Right.
Because I didn't like it.
Right.
So to know that there were direct connotations and ties there, I was like, thank God. And I said, that's my job now. I have to keep telling people until I'm canceled that these things are associated with one another, so they know. And if anyone feels like I felt, they don't feel that way anymore, because it was a horrible feeling.
Right. So you use that to help other people. Your anger about that situation to help.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
for sure. So every time somebody says, oh, that's exactly how I feel, I'm like, even if it's just one person, I'm like, mission accomplished for the day.
There you go.
You know, if I get one person to say that, then I'm good.
Right. And you've gotten a lot of people to say that, but you realize how smart you are, right? Like, you know, you're a really smart person.
Well, don't do that to me, man.
See, this is what people hate.
Yep.
But you know it though, right? Like you know that you're smart. You've turned a lot of things into something big that is helping other people. That's smart. Like,
I like to think so.
I like to think so. Okay.
You like that? So you like the verbal jujitsu there? You're
gonna hate. Yeah, that was a little bit of reverse taekwondo situation. But last thing that I want to ask you actually on this is, what are you most proud of in your life? What are you most proud of?
My kids, probably. And I know that's
no. That was a jiu-jitsu move right there. Yeah. I'll rephrase. What about yourself are you most proud of? What characteristic do you have that you are most proud of?
Probably what I'm doing right now.
Awesome.
Because I had a job before this, right? Before all of this, I had a regular job, an office job.
Right.
And everything about this goes against my anxiety and my rejection sensitivity and my people pleasing and, you know, the intrusive negative thoughts. Everything I'm doing right now, my body and mind scream at me every day, this is wrong. This is not going to work. You're going to end up on Skid Row. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, we're going to do it. And this is one of the only times in my life that I just said, we are going to do it this way because I think this is the way that I want to do things, and just ignored whatever negative things, you know, tried to hit me from that. I said, this is what I'm going to do. And I actually was BraveDave for a minute, you know, when I said, this is the route I'm taking.
That's the greatest thing I've ever heard, because when you did that, look at what happened.
Yep.
So many other people can do that.
Yes.
It's such an incredible way. And now you're taking what you've learned and you're helping others realize it. You're helping people as parents. You're helping people with ADHD. Good Lord, you're sober for 2 years. I rest my fucking case with this. Like, I mean, it's just, the ADHD people are amazing.
Yep. And you know how much of it I planned out? None.
Zero.
You
Right.
know? I knew I wanted to be sober. I guess that was the beginning. I knew that much. But the rest of this, you can't control any of this. You know,
Right.
You can put yourself in positions where you think, I think good things will happen in the environment that I'm in.
Right.
And that's the best that you can do. Do something that makes you happy and focus on ways to improve your life in small ways that are tangible within your wingspan.
Right.
And
if you
quit setting expectations for yourself.
If you can live in the moment, you will build momentum.
Yeah. Spent a lot of time worrying about the future and feeling guilty about the past, and AA addressed that, and ADHD communities are helping to address it even further. And it's a shame that it takes such a long time to realize that you don't have to think so much.
Right. 100%. That's a great statement, actually. Yeah, I still struggle with that. That's one thing I would say that's my biggest weakness is thinking about things that, like, I know that I'm utilizing so much energy thinking about this one thing that I can't get right when it doesn't fucking matter at all. And that's,
we have to.
Right. Exactly. But, dude, you're amazing. This has been so much fun. Honestly,
I had a blast too.
Good. I'm glad you did. Every person I have spoken with, every single one that has ADHD has been this remarkable human. Like, I haven't met one that
boring ADHD.
Not one.
Right.
Not one. And granted, I'm still younger and doing the podcast. It's only been a year. So, there's probably 33, 34 people, but it's 34 for 34. I told ADHD everything this, and he's like, so you're batting 1,000? I go, yeah, because I think people with ADHD bat 1,000 when given the opportunity to be themselves.
Amen, man.
Like, that's
what I'm talking about.
I'm so tired of the stigma behind it. But it's the problem is that the internet now, they fucked with the wrong group of people, because now that ADHD people have the internet and TikTok and Twitter and all these things, now we have a voice, and you can't say shit about it.
Oh, and they want to real bad. All I see is ADHD stuff. Well, congratulations, because we masked it for about 2 decades. So we have a lot of talking to do.
I love it.
That's what amazes me. It's all over the internet. Everyone has it. Well, yeah, because you suppressed a particular group of people's mental health condition.
And why do you
for
think
50,
they did?
60 years? Of course they have a lot to say.
Right.
You got 3 generations catching up.
Right. Why do you think they suppressed it for so long? In my opinion, it's because we're the answer to a lot of problems they can't solve.
That it was just, they just didn't understand it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I mean, that's everything. Excuse me. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
You just, if you don't understand it, it's much more easily dismissed than it is figured out. And that's the way the world will always be, I imagine.
But we're changing it now. We're helping to change it now.
And I'm really hoping that situations like this, where you can see the start, this isn't something that they discovered in the 1600s and now we're solving now, or something that we discovered in 1998 and we're going to solve, in 300 years. There is a start, middle, and current to this already. Yeah. And I'm hoping people can look at that and say, look how wrong we were so many times in a row.
Yep.
So maybe we shouldn't feel like we have shit figured out about this other stuff that, we're so diligent about.
Was that an ADHD person bringing logic to a scenario? I think that's what that was. It's like, well, ADHD people aren't logical. They can't prepare. They can't come up with something new. They can't just sit down and shut up. Okay. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Sit down and shut up. Why? Because you're not as creative as we are. You're not as logical, to the point, ignoring all the other shit as we are. I'm sorry for you.
Maybe we'd focus more if what you were doing was more interesting.
Right. Or if you could prove to us why what you're saying actually matters in life.
Yeah.
Like, dude, can we talk again at some point? Like, I like, if you have a podcast, can I be on it? Because I want to come on your show.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a kick-ass motherfucker, man. I love this.
Thank you.